Welcome to the Wooly Whey, a podcast specifically for dairy shepherds. That is, folks wanting to raise sheep for the purpose of harvesting milk. We cover all the things pertaining to raising dairy sheep here, be it animal nutrition, housing, healthcare, lambing tips, cheese making, and even some butchery and fiber arts. After all, if you raise dairy sheep, you are going to have wool, and if your operation is successful, you'll eventually have surplus lambs to decide what to do with. Ethical animal husbandry is the focus here, as well as sustainable agriculture. We want to provide you with the information you need to start and continue your dairy sheep operation in the best way possible for you, your sheep, and this amazing world we live in. So grab a nice cup of sheep milk and let's dive in. It was my first year vending at the largest homesteading festival in the country. Kyle and I felt that we were finally where we were supposed to be, enjoying conversations with like-minded individuals and fellow homesteaders and small farmers. Our goal at that point was simply to create a value-added product that could bring income onto our property and offset costs of raising the animals we come to love. We had no idea we were about to begin a movement. We had, like most small family farmers, started with chickens, hoping to sell excess eggs to our community. However, our market was saturated, and we didn't find a huge demand for our duck eggs either. Our current project was sheep milk soap, which I had stumbled onto as a value-added product while trying to raise funds for better quality beehives. A friend of mine was presenting that weekend on the value of wool sheep on the homestead. During her talk, she casually mentioned that wool sheep can also be raised for milk. During the question and answer section, half the questions were on raising sheep for milk. Up to that point, anytime we had mentioned dairy sheep, we were met with, at best, quizzical confusion, or at worst, vehement correction. "You don't milk sheep, you milk goats," were a few of the emphatic corrections. So Kyle and I assumed that we ought to keep our heads down. Dairy sheep just weren't popular and oughtn't to really be discussed in public agrarian society. Yet at this event, we received a much different reaction. Folks were hungry to learn, super curious, and, the most shocking, were even supportive of what we were doing. The weekend culminated with a middle-aged man cornering me in my booth and asking question after question, until finally I was exhausted. Sensing this, he said, "All right, I'll leave you alone now. Where can I get your book?" "My book? I'm sorry, I don't have a book." "Oh, do you do courses instead? All right, where do I sign up for that?" "A course? Teach a course? Me? I'm sorry, I don't have one of those either." "Pamphlet?" he asked in shock. "Nope, sorry, I don't even have that." In exasperation, the man exclaimed that he needed information and asked what was I thinking, keeping valuable information about something as helpful as dairy sheep to myself, and then left my booth in a huff. "Well, why don't we write a pamphlet?" Kyle said after we recovered. "It will only take a weekend, and we can add it to our inventory. Super quick and simple." Famous last words. From that pamphlet idea grew the book, The Guide to Homestead Dairy Sheep, the only book currently in print on the topic of raising sheep for harvesting milk. For a while, I rested on my laurels and thought I had done my duty for the dairy sheep community. However, as I've promoted the book and spoken to numerous new shepherds and homesteaders in the last year and a half, I've realized we need more resources. While I definitely have plans to write more books, a book is sort of like a baby. It needs time, thought, care, and dedication. It is not a fast turnaround. And the homesteading community needs access to good information now. Sheep milk and raising dairy sheep is growing in popularity in America and around the world, but sadly there isn't a lot of information available on this subject in the Western world. The knowledge shared between shepherds is predominantly oral in nature, and one gains shepherding wisdom through cultivating relationships and finding mentors. This is easier said than done and can feel impossible for someone brand new to homesteading or small crofting, as they say in Europe. I first tasted sheep milk while doing mission work in Romania, and then again at a small Russian grocery store while I was in college. Sheep milk is still quite popular overseas and in countries considered still developing or not necessarily first world status. Since doing mission work in that part of the world, I have developed a knack for making friends with folks in those areas, and finding dairy shepherding wisdom comes easily to me. As we grow in our shepherding maturity, I realized that there are some nuances to raising dairy sheep that don't exist in goat or cow dairying. You definitely can't treat a sheep like a pig or chicken. This observation was confirmed by my friends overseas and the research I have done in academic papers. However, this wisdom is hidden by an American culture's determination to class sheep as stupid. Sheep are subtle and have definite nuances to their care, and they make terrible humans. They have a different psyche than a dog, cat, or gerbil, but they are far from stupid. As a result, they do take a bit of learning curve to get used to. On our shepherding journey, we have learned that there are some principles to good animal husbandry that do go across the board. Delving into the grass-fed, regenerative agriculture, small-scale homesteading movement has its own learning curve, and I'd like to help lessen its intensity for you, my listeners. There's also some subtleties in learning how to process sheep milk differently than cow or goat milk. Sheep milk has unique properties that give it a higher nutritional value and higher gut healing dynamics than goat or cow milk. As a result, this affects fermentation time, how the curd sets, and the enzymes can be reflected in the cheese's texture and flavor. I'm still learning the ins and outs of this, and I want to bring you along as I learn. Mutton has a negative reputation in our country, and lamb has an intimidation factor to many people because of marketing being done to promote certain breeds of sheep. As a result, there's a lot of bad information circling out there about how sheep meat flavors manifest in your kitchen. I personally love cooking with sheep meat, both young and old, and so we'll share our secrets with you as you go. Finally, I am a huge wool enthusiast. I grew up with fiber artists and used the wool from my flock to make winter clothes, stuffed animals, and blankets for my family. We are moving away from synthetic fabrics as much as possible, and I want to share with you my joy and enthusiasm for wool. This is important for dairy shepherds because there are no dairy-specific breeds of hair sheep, and in fact, wool breeds far outnumber hair breeds. While hair sheep currently are being promoted in American agriculture as the better option, I contend that this is solely a matter of personal preference. Wool is a valuable homestead commodity and can be integral in regenerative agriculture. I can't wait to share with you the amazing ways wool has improved the gardening, housing, clothing, and even toy options for those who have embraced its unique properties. I have met so many amazing people on this dairy shepherding journey and continue to learn amazing things about myself, the sheep, their milk, and all the products they give us throughout their life. From animal husbandry to harvesting, I want to take you by the hand and help make sheep milk accessible to whoever wants it. As we interview fellow dairy shepherds and experts in the agricultural arena, as well as cheesemakers and cooks, I want to make this learning process fun and approachable. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you'll subscribe and stick around for each shepherding lesson we share. Thanks so much for listening to the Wooly Whey podcast. We hope you enjoyed our episode and have gleaned at least one tip you can implement in your flock right away. If you liked what you heard, please hit the subscribe button. And if you wouldn't mind, leave us a review. This helps others find our podcast so they can enjoy learning more about dairy sheep along with you. The Wooly Whey podcast is a production of Whoopsie Daisy Farm. For updates and information about our show, follow us on Facebook or Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube and email list, and look us up at whoopsiedaisyfarm.com. Have a particular guest you'd like us to host or a topic you'd like us to cover? Fill out our contact form on our website or shoot us an email at whoopsiedaisyfarm@gmail.com. See you next time!